Good morning. Good morning. Thank you guys for coming. Let's drop the intro and then we'll get started.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming. Let's talk a little bit of 49er football. If you stick around, you might hear one of my dad jokes.
I don't have the 10 seconds just right. I have it almost at 11. But if you're not first, you're last, right? So I'd rather, have that extra time. Um, Everyone, I have Ryan G. Hensley here. If you haven't seen him before, where you been at? I know he's everywhere on YouTube. He's one of the big 49er collaborators, a big fan, a big guy, just all in general. And then we have David McNiner down at the bottom. And if you haven't seen David, I mean, where you been at? David's everywhere as well. David's a great guy, good friend of mine, and we collab a lot. So if you've been here before, we appreciate you coming back. So let's start the show out, everybody. Good morning. It's the morning coffee talk. Hopefully, you brought your cup of coffee, something to wet your whistle with, and we're gonna just have a good Sunday.
I brought a
So
bang. Is that okay? I didn't bring coffee. I got my bang.
that's whatever wets your whistle. Some people, different strokes for different folks, and like I used to work at this gas station, so in the morning, I could have any cup of coffee I want. I really wasn't that big on coffee. I actually like drinking coffee at nighttime, to be honest. So I would walk in the morning and I'd go in the store. I'd go grab me a V8 out of the cooler. And I always had to keep it right there at the back of the cooler where it could get nice and icy cold. So I'd start my day out with a V8. So again, everybody has their own, but I want to start out by asking you, Ryan, how's your son doing yesterday for it was his tournament, right? He had a marathon, or was that last weekend?
That was last. My son is a high jumper in college, and so he's a high jumper, long jumper. But that was last weekend. He was at he went to the championships. He did pretty damn good, but his season is done for now. My other son is working through a meniscus recovery, so he's done for now. So as of right now, I have no sports to go to for a while, and I'm excited about that, being able to relax a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've been listening to you for a while, and one of the things that I'm not jealous of because I just haven't got there yet. Everybody gets to things at their own stage. But one of the things that I admire about you is you said you were a coach at one time, or you are a coach, right?
Yeah, I've coached basketball for over a decade now. So, and then I did baseball before that. So I've been coaching for, I don't know, 15 years total. If you combine my baseball coaching along with basketball coaching, it's about 15 years.
That's what I would like to try to do. I've been on sport teams before, but I would like to try to get to a point where I could coach. I don't think I know enough about the X's and O's and the little schematics, but I know I have the heart and I know I have the patience to stand there and, tell somebody you can try a little harder, you can do it this way. I've learned, like at least it is my profession, I've become a very good trainer. So if somebody's struggling at something and I'm relatively proficient at it or pretty good at it, I do really good at repetition. So I've been able to say, hey, just do it like this and in a calm manner. I've never been punched in the face at work or, working next to somebody. So I've always taken pleasure and thought, maybe coaching one day would be good for me. So hopefully, I got a son now, so fingers crossed, and nothing, you can't teach your daughters or anything like that. Actually, in a little bit, me and Lily, my oldest daughter, we're going to be going and shooting some basketball. So,
yeah.
But I do appreciate you coming on. David, how are you doing this morning as well?
I'm great. My only coaching experience is softball, and it was comp league. I mean, parents are definitely hard to deal with, but I had this thing at the beginning of every season where I'd have this big meeting, and I'd straight up tell them, your job is to sit in the stands and cheer the team on. If I hear you yelling at the Yumps, yelling at the other team, yelling at your kid, I might just ban you for being there. So y'all just sit there and cheer the team on. I didn't want to have to deal with all the horrible parents, So right off the bat, I would get that out of the way.
Yeah. It's definitely a problem. Is parents can get out of hand in sports for sure.
Yeah.
I haven't really got to play a whole lot of sports growing up for, not necessarily anyone's fault in particular. We moved around a little bit. We also, my mom and dad, my dad, I'm a paycheck to paycheck guy as well, so it's not, no knock at anybody. But when you got me and my brother and we're 18 months apart and Little League's coming up or, Pop Warner's coming up and they want like almost 100 and something dollars in the 90s to, start, just get your application and your uniform. It was a hard bite and swallow for my parents. So I got to play in high school, and my mom and dad they dove right into it for me as much as they could. Went to every game for me, So I really appreciate that. But hey, let's start out the morning by thanking everybody in the chat. I'm not going to read everybody's name because there's a lot of you, and we all appreciate you. But I am going to start. I'm going to drop my dad joke, and then we're going to get into some of these pictures we got. Because, Ryan, I would like to show you a few pictures, nothing gruesome or anything. Well, maybe. But I'd like to get your opinion on some of these significant things that's happened in 49er history. But here's the dad joke first. I chose this joke because I know you're a real estate guy, and you might get this one. So I hate going to MC Hammer's house. I forgot to put the M because he won't let me touch anything.
Okay. That's a good one, man. Yes.
I didn't get the in there. I was going too fast, and I have fat fingers, and I wear glasses, so I apologize. But with that, we'll move on. We'll move on to our banners, and we'll move on to some of these pictures. So growing up, like I started watching football the 95 season, the 94 season, and really just the Super Bowl. And from there, I was bitten. So some of the things that's happened in 49er history, I've had to go back and watch or learn. And because I'm one of the guys in my family that I have too many broken bones to tell you. And I'm the guy that you walk into the house and you see me sitting on the couch and you're like, damn, Bryant, what did you break again? And not goofy or clumsy. It's just one of those things. I got ran over by a truck, just walking across the street one day. I looked, but it happened. So again, I had to look back in time, or, I had a lot of time to read the newspaper and, I was that guy. Right. So this is a picture, and me and David's already kind of seen it. And I would like to know what you thought about it when you seen it in 49er history.
Ooh.
Do you remember them trying to change the logo?
Oh, it's ugly. I'm glad they didn't, because that is ugly for sure.
Super ugly. They did try to change the logo, and too many people were upset about it. So they wrote in, because at this time we didn't have social media like today. So there was phone calls made to the stadium and the organization, and they had so much mail that was delivered the next day. And I'm pretty sure it was hate mail. So yeah, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So that was, I want to say that was back in like 91. And look at that one more time. They got the red face mask. I think everyone's kind of an opinion on it that the red face mask is okay, but that 49er logo, no.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
The look on his face when he's presenting it, he's looking at that like it was almost like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't. That's pretty awful.
So again, like moving around, like we found out these quarterbacks and these coaches have umbrellas. They have trees, right? And one of the biggest ones for me to start watching was Mooch and Brett Favre and Steve Young. So I'm going to show you this picture, and I just kind of want your opinion on it. You can elaborate as much as you want.
Definitely remember those days, man. Steve Young's my favorite quarterback of all time. I know a lot of people prefer Montana, but for me, it was Steve Young. Seems like they were always
young too. Yes. And for me, it was Young as well. He was the guy who I started watching, and he won that Super Bowl, and he probably would have got a couple more if who knows, Jerry Rice didn't break his leg, or we had some gruesome injuries. So this is a gruesome picture, and I can tell you where I was at. I can tell you what I was doing. And I can tell you, I think this is probably the turning of the tide. So if you guys, either one of you can, let me know. This right here, this one, I still have the newspaper clip.
Yeah, I remember that. that definitely hurt the team quite a bit when Garrison Hurst went down.
This was against
You
the Falcons, I believe, in the championship, not the championship game, the division game, I believe. And then they went on to lose to, well, beat the Vikings because of the
Yeah.
field goal kicker.
Yeah, someone who's broken their ankle. I have a pin in my right ankle. Yeah, I can relate to the ankle injuries. So that's tough to see.
I've
Yep.
had a slippage break where the tendons are ripped off of my ankle, and my ankle looks like a baseball right now, and it'll probably always look like that. But when that happened, the Niners were rolling. That was a good year, and that was probably Steve Young's last good year, if I'm correct. I think that was the 97-98 season. And the Niners, if we would have beat them, who knows? We might have lost to the Vikings, but who knows, right? And that's one of those things. It's just like, after he left the game, we really didn't have an attack. I mean, Steve Young was still there, but maybe it was our O line, and maybe it really was our O line, because I think the next season Steve Young got hurt because of our O line. So
Steve Young was always
yeah,
hurt,
it's just
unfortunately. The guy had like 8 concussions, I think, in his career. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, he played her, and I when he retired, I did. I was a little kid, and maybe it was because I was a little kid, but I cried. I was like, man, that's who do we got next? Who do we have next? And I live in Stockton, so I got to see the training camp, and I knew we had Jeff Garcia, and I really liked Jeff Garcia. I did. He was like our fifth string quarterback in camp or something, and moved up the ranks, and he got behind Steve, and I thought that was cool. But then he had a lot of hate go his way too. He was more mobile, not more mobile than Steve, but he was mobile, and he had an arm, but it wasn't the biggest arm. And some people would say it was Owens's yards, maybe yak yards, that got him the stats that he got. But eventually Owens turned on him, and I think that's what hurt our team there.
Yeah, I think Garcia was a little underrated, and he took a lot of heat. Most of the heat that Garcia took, believe it or not, was for the way he talked more than anything else. I remember everyone making fun of him, kind of at a lisp when he talked, and yeah, he took a lot of heat for that. But I think if you look back, he was actually pretty underrated. I don't think people appreciated him at the time. They were comparing him to Joe Montana and Steve Young. And they little would they know that we go 20 years before and we're still looking for a quarterback as good as Garcia.
Yeah, he won the MVP one season, didn't he?
He's a 4-time Pro Bowler as well. I think he was putting up. He's the last 49ers quarterback to throw over 4,000 yards in a season. Here we are 20 years later, still looking for that.
Yep.
So a story
Wow.
about Jeff Garcia, because he was in Stockton during the training camp. There was a black Escalade and a white Escalade that took off on UOP, out of UOP right there on Pacific. And me and my dad, we were just so happened we were in his Mercedes across the street. We're not sitting there idling, but we were at the light, and we seen one car go out one way, and we're like, whoa, and we were heading the opposite way anyways. So we turn and we go left towards the white Escalade, and they went down the street a couple miles. Actually, we weren't following them. We were actually going to In-N-Out, and they were driving that way as well, because there's only one In-N-Out in Stockton at the time. And if you haven't been to In-N-Out, I mean, it's probably one of the best burger places you can go to, like get a hot made ready burger for a relatively decent price. And I think they're just a super cool California restaurant. But so he's going down the street, and we turn and we go, we whip around the corner, because my dad's like, I think that's Jeff Garcia in the truck, and I'm like, I'm sitting in the back, and I'm like, I don't know, I can't see, Dad. So we pull up next to him, and he rolls his window down, and he says, hey, are you guys following me? And my dad says, no. He said, but are you Jeff Garcia? And he says, why, are you a fan? My dad looks at him and says, no, I'm a Raider fan. The guy looks at my dad, pulls his head back, and my dad real quick says, my boy right here behind me, he's a 49er fan. He's like, no, I'm not Jeff Garcia, I'm a coach. I don't know how many other red, ball-headed, freckle guys were on the 49ers team at that time. That was Jeff Garcia. Yeah, I mean, hey, we're not trying to pull him over and rob him or anything like that, but we were just trying to, I don't know, maybe wave at him. And yeah, he tried to ditch us, and that was fine. But
Interesting.
Have you ever met anybody significant in the 49ers organization, like a big name player or a coach?
You talking to me? Yeah. I mean, so I went In 1991, I believe it was, I went to Stanford football camp, and even though it was Stanford, they had the 49ers running it. And there's a coach you may have heard of there. His name was Bill Walsh.
Mhm.
So I was able to meet Bill Walsh, and along with Ronnie Lott, I believe Roger Craig was there. The best experience I've ever had with a 49er. And they used to come to our school all the time and play basketball. Like the lower level, and the 49ers would play basketball against the teachers, and it was like a fundraiser type thing. But the best experience I had was at that Stanford football camp. Ronnie Lott asked if anyone wanted to race him, and everyone raised their hand. And I was one of the 3 kids that he chose to race him. So we ran a 40-yard dash, and after like 10 yards, he turned around and ran backwards and smoked us all by like 20 yards. And it was awesome. He told us how he amputated his finger. And so from that experience and watching him on TV, that's what kind of sealed. Like, I was always a Niner fan, but after that, I was hooked. I wasn't going to go anywhere. And Ronnie Lott will always be probably my favorite player of all time for the 49ers.
David, same question. Have you ever met anyone in the organization, a player or a coach, or even anyone in the NFL?
Well, one time I saw Steve Young because he did go to BYU, and I was down in Provo. This is many years ago, and I saw him from a ways away, but it was one of those, I'm not gonna run over there, and go, "Are you Steve Young?" He actually had some people doing that, at that point. So I was like, "No, I'm not gonna be that guy." There he is right there, though. But that's the closest I've ever been because I'm in Utah. If I was closer, then maybe I'd try to go to practices and stuff like that. That's for sure. I got to take a vacation at the right time and head out.
What part of Utah are you in, David?
Northern part, north of Salt Lake.
What city?
Ogden.
Okay. I lived in Sandy for a few years. That's where I actually bought my first house. So I'm familiar with the area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We just had a horrible winter. I mean, the worst winter I've seen in like 15 years. It was insane.
That's part of the reason I wanted to come home to Cali, man. I did not enjoy the winters in Salt Lake City.
I moved to Kentucky for 2 years, or about a year and a half. I did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy having the cable the way I had, or the antenna TV. We had a satellite dish, but I did not enjoy football in the middle of the day the way it was. I did not enjoy watching the Cowboys. I was there during the Cardinal and Pittsburgh Super Bowl. I fell asleep during that Super Bowl. It's just one of those things. Just did not enjoy the experience. Kentucky's beautiful. There's a joke about Kentucky, if you've ever been there. All the roads are curvy and winding, and they're all on mountaintops. And you say, well, why couldn't they just do like a straight road or something, right? Well, the people in Kentucky, it's a Commonwealth state, so everyone's commonly poor, right? Well, they designed the roads, the serpentine or zigzag or whatever, because they got paid by the mile.
Hey, what part of Kentucky were you in?
I was down by the bottom, Monticello, Kentucky, Albany, Kentucky, right there by Static, Tennessee, right, really close to Bowling Green, really close, right there at the bottom, Highway 127. And that's
my dad's family is all from Kentucky. That's where my dad's buried right now, is in Kentucky. They have like 57 acres way out there in Jackson. But yeah, that's where he was born and raised. And I actually lived in Cincinnati for a year and a half, and that's right on the tri-state area: Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. So yeah,
I lived in Dayton. I lived in Dayton, Ohio, so we were neighbors.
Yeah, I'm familiar with all that.
Yeah, my parents, they bounced around a little bit. We lived in Tennessee for a short period of time, Kentucky. I lived in Dayton. I was born in Virginia. I like to tell people I'm a lover, not a fighter. So one of those things.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's move on a little bit, because I could talk to you all day. I really am excited. And again, thank you everyone in the chat for being here. We're not really getting to the comments, but we appreciate you. All right, so this is a picture, and I just kind of want your thoughts and again, what do you think it meant to the team, him as a person? David's seen this picture and he might get a kick out of it again. So I'm gonna bring it in.
Yeah, Harbaugh was great.
So
Yeah.
what do you think about Harbaugh? Do you think he got let go too soon? Was his opinion? I mean,
So
was it? What do you?
I I cover the 49ers for Bleach Report and also a Bay Area newspaper for about three or 4 years roughly, and it was during the Harbaugh era. So he's probably the coach that I was the most familiar with, and I really liked Harbaugh, man. I mean, there's some things about him that were a little, uh, I don't know what the word is, but a little cringy. I guess there's some things he did that I didn't always like. I thought it was a little corny. Like the "Who's Got a Better than Us" thing was great in the beginning, and after a while, I'm like, okay, all right, let's stop with the cheers. But other than that, man, I really liked him. I thought he was great. I thought he got fired too soon, too early. Um, I think a lot of it was just his personality didn't mesh well with the Yorks. And I think he was fired because of his personality as opposed to what he was actually doing on the field. Seeing him go was frustrating. We went a long time before we were able to find another good head coach than Kyle Shanahan. And so I'd be curious to see what Jim Harbaugh was able to do if he's been the coach this whole time. Not that I don't like Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a good coach as well. But it would have been interesting to see what would have happened had they kept him and just let him keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I liked Harbaugh a whole lot too. I think it was really weird. If you remember, I want to say it's the 2014 season. They tried to trade him to the Cleveland Browns. So, I don't know if it was they got into an argument because of this right here and they weren't able to cool down. But this game right here, I think, was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know what argument was said in the office, the organization between owners and coaches, but I believe this play and this outcome in the game right here got Harbaugh fired. Because why would you go out and say we're trying to trade you to Cleveland at the beginning of the season? I mean, like I could see it at draft time, I could see it, before the draft, but in training camp or preseason, like it almost made everybody. I felt like the Niners were tanking.
Yeah. So Harbaugh and Jed York are like completely different personality types, right? Harbaugh is more like, I don't lack of good words. He's like the alpha male type personality. Jed York's more of like the, city, rich boy. Like they were just on two different levels. They never really liked each other personally. And so I think at that point, York was looking for any reason to get rid of Harbaugh. I just think it was a bad fit. They didn't mesh well at all. Yeah.
What do you think, David?
I think the problem with that group would have been Trent Baalke. Because the GM is the guy that's supposed to be between them going, all right, telling Jed York, look, he's a great coach. I got this. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
And instead he let the situation, go downhill, and not in just a, it went downhill fashion. A landslide happened and landed on top of it,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Jed York got rid of the wrong guy. He should have got rid of Trent Baalke and should have got a guy that could have that literally could have stood between them and kept those two, at arm's length of each other. Because sometimes you just gotta, okay, I don't get along with this guy, but he's really good at what he does. So sometimes you just gotta bite it and get along with him because of that,
Yeah.
But I'm convinced we fired the wrong guy.
Yeah, I think you're right, dead on there. I mean, Kyle Shanahan essentially hired John Lynch, whereas Trent Baalke hired Harbaugh. So it was the other way around. Kyle has total control right now. Harbaugh did not. He was under Baalke. So I think you're right. It was just the dynamics there. But yeah, like you said, Harbaugh, I thought he was a good coach. I hated when he left.
So with Harbaugh, right? Before Harbaugh, we had Jimmy T for one game, but we had I just didn't bring him up real quick. Did we fire him too soon? What do you think, Ryan?
That's a tough one for me. It's hard to say too soon because he was here forever, and he really never got good until Harbaugh came around. He ended up doing better with Andy Reid, but it was hard to deny what Cap was doing when he did move on from Alex Smith. Cap was amazing, and Cap ended up not working out either. So because of that, you could say, damn, we should have maybe held on to Alex Smith. But I feel like we got the most out of Alex Smith within the 49ers organization. Obviously, he went to, the Chiefs, and he did pretty good. That's probably his best years were actually at the Chiefs. So you can make an argument that we got rid of him too soon, I guess. But I don't think Alex Smith was ever like that guy, the Super Bowl winning type quarterback that we needed. He's a good, serviceable quarterback, but I don't think he was going to win us Super Bowls. Now maybe like on this roster where we're at right now with Kyle Shanahan, this roster's so good. Alex Smith is kind of what they're hoping Brock Purdy can be, or Jimmy Garoppolo, right? That's all they're really asking the quarterbacks to be. Again, it's debatable whether that's good enough to win a Super Bowl. But Alex Smith, really liked him. Great personality. He was somebody I admired when I was covering for Bleacher Report. Like as far as like the way he handled his business, he received a lot of hate from this fan base for a long time. Some of it deservedly, some of it not. Always a new offensive coordinator, new coach. But he dealt with it very professionally. Even when they moved on from him to Colin Kaepernick, he dealt with it professionally. So really good guy, somebody I really admire, but not really a top-notch quarterback, So I don't know. That's tough.
I love the analyst on Alex. I loved Alex too as a person, and I was upset 7 different coordinators or whatnot, but I was kind of asking about Singletary. Do you think we moved off of Singletary too fast?
Oh, you were talking about no, I don't. Like for me personally, like I actually interviewed Anthony Davis, or Anthony Dixon, the running back, and I asked him. He really liked Singletary. But a lot of these other guys did not. He wasn't relatable. He's more very old school type of coach. He's also very defensive minded. And the way I just 100% believe if I'm running an organization, I want an offensive minded head coach. And the reason is because you're not constantly changing the offense when your offensive coordinators are either not good enough or so good they get hired out somewhere else. So you're constantly resetting the offense. And I don't like that. If I'm hiring a head coach, I want the head coach to be the guy that oversees the offense, whether he's the coordinator or not. I still want him to be the one that oversees the offense. And that way you have longevity. And every year it's the same thing from the offensive standpoint. You don't have to reset and learn new things. Learning a new defense is not as challenging as learning a whole new playbook. And so, I mean, Mike Singletary is just too old school to me. He's kind of like one of the last old school type of coaches. And it just wasn't a good fit. And long-term, I didn't think it was going to work out at all. I mean, you see how they went from Singletary to Harbaugh and the big jump they made as an organization. So definitely not too soon to get rid of him. Now, great linebacker. So I'll give him that much for sure.
Yeah. Me and Davis kind of bounced around a little bit. We've talked about this stuff a little bit. So, David, I'm going to ask you some questions as well. But my thoughts are like Mike Nolan came onto our team and he was our coach. I really liked his new swag and, like the feeling. We had Alex Smith. So I was like buying into it. Alex Smith got hurt, and then we started seeing different coordinators come in and then we let him go. But at that point we had drafted so many people. So I was like, okay, we are sailing, we are moving the ship in the right direction. Right. And then we jumped to Singletary. And I think, because of the voices in the locker room and, defense and, I think he took over the locker room. Maybe he didn't steal it, but he did persuade a lot of players. But then his ordeal that happened in the locker room and the pantsing or the, whatever, that got him let go. And at that point, I got to say you got to go. But he did turn Vernon Davis around. I believe, David, you had brought that up as well. And he made the Niners play. But I wasn't super happy that he got all the credit and Mike Nolan didn't seem to get a lot of credit for building that team. And then here comes Harbaugh, and then Harbaugh takes us to, 13-3 in the Super Bowl. And, from there, I was just like, why are you going to just, now you're eliminating Harbaugh because, You did it with Singletary. You did it with Mike Nolan, and you think we're just going to keep going. And after that, it was like the team just rebuilt. Everybody just started leaving, and so I'm glad we have Kyle now. And if you guys didn't know, today in the state of Texas, there's a city or a town called Kyle, and they are going for the Guinness World Record for the most Kyles in the town today.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
So shout out to Kyle and hope they break the record. But yeah, Ryan,
Wow.
I mean, thank you. Thanks for coming on. David, you got a couple questions for Ryan. Ryan's going to start a show here shortly. And I got two more jokes, and I want to show you one more picture. But I want you to give your thoughts and give us some questions for Ryan as well.
Ryan, what are your thoughts on our draft? I mean, I know it's a couple of years before I actually grade drafts. I don't do draft grades until I see if the player's going to work out or not,
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on our draft?
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think, like you said, I think it's tough to really judge it 2 or 3 years. But my initial thoughts were I thought the draft was good. I'm a little curious to see how Latu works out as a tight end. That was a little surprise for me. I'm anxious to see if he really is like a real legit tight end 2 or possibly a tight end 1 one day. I'm not so sure about it, but we'll see. I'm excited to find out. I really liked the Luter pick. I really liked the Brown pick. The kicker pick was a big surprise for me, and at the time I was shocked and didn't like it, but I slept on it, and as long as he ends up being the guy that they think he is, I think that's fine too. That draft overall, it was unique because the 49ers are so deep that they kind of didn't have to draft for needs necessarily outside of the kicker. It was more of a best player available draft. So I'm not sure how much these guys are going to make an impact on the team right away. I think Brown might. I think Luter might. Moody definitely is. And then we'll see about guys like Latu, whether they're going to be able to make an impact right away. But, again, it's tough to really judge a draft, like you said, for, 2 or 3 years before you actually see how they play out. Same way I judge a quarterback. You really don't know for 2 or 3 years. And that's honestly with every player. You really don't know for 2 or 3 years. There's some positions, like running back, for example, where it seems like guys either have it or they don't from the beginning. But most positions, it takes time to develop. And so we'll see, man. We'll definitely see. I was hoping that whoever they drafted at tight end was going to be that guy. So we'll see if that ends up being true for Latu.
David, keep asking questions, man.
Well,
I've talked a couple.
I was big on us drafting the tight end in this draft, but I mean, they were just flying off the board before we even started picking. And I was looking at that like, man, there's going to be like, who's going to be available by then? And I was surprised by when we picked Cameron Latu, but he played linebacker his first 2 years in college and then switched. So really, he only has 2 years at tight end. So he might be kind of a development project. But the guy we got really late, Braden Willis,
right?
I've actually been watching a lot of tape on him, and I'm going, could this guy be Juice's replacement, or could he be, tight end 2, this year? I honestly think he could be, What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think finding a replacement for Juice is definitely, I think, on the priority for the 49ers. Not that they're going to do it this year, but he's getting older and he's very expensive. And we all know with the roster dynamics, the finances are going over the next couple of years, it's going to get really pricey. And so there's guys that are older, fullbacks making $5 million. You got to feel like that might be a position that's might be moved on from at some point, because if you could get a fullback that's just as good as Juice, which is going to be tough to do, but if you could for $700,000-$800,000 a year versus $5 million a year, which is unheard of, that's something that they're going to want to do at some point. So we'll see. I mean, it could be him, it could be a lot of guys, could be freaking Poe for all we know. It could be what's his name, Jack, the guy from Oregon that we drafted, UDFA. Yeah, could be him. So I mean, I actually more excited like you just watching the tape about Wilkes than I am Latu right now. Now, it doesn't mean I'm right or that Latu's not going to be good, but it's just he jumps off on film more than Latu does for me. So, but like you said, Latu's very raw. He hasn't played that position a lot. So who knows if he's even close to reaching his peak. I think you're right. He's more of a project guy, and he may end up working out. He's strong as hell. Polynesian guy. My wife's family's Polynesian, so I know firsthand those guys are no jokes. So we'll see how it works out, man.
All right, I got one more dad joke. Well, I got two more, but I'm gonna leave one for the end of the show. So you'll have to pop back in later to read or I can send it to you on Twitter. But here's the dad joke, and then we'll get you out of here. I appreciate you again coming on. All right, so I was trying to be, thoughtful and think of things, like when you have a painter come on, you have a painter come on. When you have a real estate guy, you have a real estate guy. So it is a football show. We try to do football dad jokes, but there's only so many that you can tell. Like, you know what happens with Detroit, right? When they win the Super Bowl, they turn off the PlayStation, right? So there's only so many times. That's right. Yeah. So I did find this one. This one's a real estate agent question, joke. So I'll read it out, and it screws on the bottom as well. As a commercial real estate agent, I especially enjoy showing, because once you've seen one, you can them all.
I love a good dad joke, man. Hey, as a dad myself, I make my kids roll their eyes constantly with dad jokes. So I appreciate that effort. Thank you, man.
I you can't always say, everything, but a dad, if somebody smiles or they roll their eyes at you, it's all in fun. So that's where I'm at. Ryan, if people haven't been able to find you, how would it be the best for them to go looking for you? Or what would you like them to start searching?
Just if you don't,
how do we find
you don't follow me on Twitter or YouTube, I'd appreciate it. I'm just at my name right here at Ryan G. Hensley. I'm actually taking the day off, man. I'm tired. I'm worn out of explaining the same thing over and over and over about quarterbacks. So I was gonna do a show today at 10, but instead I said let me just come on Bryant's show, and then I'll take the rest of the day off. But yeah, if you guys want to go find me on Twitter or YouTube and subscribe, I'd appreciate it.
Awesome. We do appreciate you coming on. You ever want to do it again? We'll do it again. I was just really excited when you told me you're coming. So I was like, all right. And again, I've been watching, paying attention. I don't want to ask too many quarterback questions. Want to, good vibes in the morning, Yeah. And I'm just a fan. David's just a fan. We like talking 49ers. Last night we broke down the NFC West division, and I believe the Niners are making the playoffs out of our findings. So, again, we just have fun. And if you guys don't know where Ryan's at, he's on Twitter. Again, his name's Ryan G. Hensley. He's got a lot of good content. I like it when you do, Monday to Friday shows. It breaks up my day at work. But, I know there's sometimes everybody needs to take a day off. And
I might get back to that during the season. It's really tough in the off season to do 5 days a week. So that's why I'm not doing it. But I do want to say thank you, man. It was good. I'm a big supporter of Bryant Colt because you've always supported everybody else. So make sure everybody follows and subscribes to Bryant Colt, man. You're a great guy. It was great to come on here, take a break from talking quarterbacks. Thank you very much, buddy.
Thank you. And, come on back anytime, and you'll see me around as well. And in case you didn't see it, really do appreciate it, and I really do appreciate you too. So thank you, Ryan, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, buddy. You guys have a good day. Nice to meet you, David.
Go Niners. Thanks for coming, Ryan.
See you guys.
All right, that was Ryan Hensley. Really appreciate him coming on. I've known him for a little while now. Found him through Grant. The first time I seen him on Grant, I went and followed him on Twitter. Almost immediately, he followed me back. I don't try to blow him up too much or bother him too much because, if you're on Twitter, you see he's pretty active on Twitter. And, you can be anyone's friend on Twitter, but, sometimes you don't want to be that pain in the neck. And I already have a pain in my neck. I don't need to be anyone else's pain. And again, Ryan, he's a cool guy. He can help you out with real estate. He can help you out with all kinds of things. And like you've seen, he's a cool, laid back kind of guy. He's a 49er fan. I really do appreciate him coming on. So we got a lot of people in the chat. David, if you want to continue to go on for a little bit longer, we only been on for 40 minutes. I'm going to drop the link if you don't mind, and we can talk a little 49er football with anybody. Again, thank you all for coming on. We really appreciate you guys being here in the chat and putting up with some of my dad jokes. Let me throw my last dad joke down, and we'll bring in some of our guests after that, David. I got this one, and it's kind of funny. I wanted to bring it on with Ryan, but I didn't want to burn him out on the dad jokes. So because we're all in Tennessee and everywhere, I figured it would be funny. I don't know, some things are just coincidence. So why did Tennessee choose orange as their team color? You can wear it to the game on Saturday, hunting on Sunday, and picking up trash during the week along the highways the rest of the week.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Bryant. Oh, man.
All right, I'm going to bring in Tara down. I'm bringing Ryan, and we'll have a good conversation. Good morning, Ryan. Good morning, Teradome.
I don't know how
good morning, John Jay.
In here.
Morning, everybody.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of a crisis going on in Texas. In Texas, guys. Jerry Jones needs more parking for that stadium. But the letter he sent out, it says support America, help America's team. We need more parking. So they're making more parking for us 49ers fans over there. But they're tearing down stuff that people of the community use. So Jerry Jones just might have made a mortal enemy with last name Elite, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah,
you gotta love Jerry Jones. You gotta love Jerry Jones. Nobody feels like Jerry Jones, man. He exquisite marketer. He's got everybody not selling on America's team. We'll call it America's dream. I will enjoy week 5, beating Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys on October 8th. As I was saying about the Seattle faithful or the Seattle non-faithful, we don't own you yet, but you're in escrow.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I don't know if you got to see it last night, Teradome, but we broke down the schedule a little bit for the NFC West, and we didn't do the Niners because we've kind of already done that. And the Rams are rebuilding. The Cardinals will be lucky to get 3 wins. And it looks like the Seahawks, depending on who you're going with, Corey, David, or me, or Ryan, they'll be between 12 wins to 9 wins. So they might make the playoffs. They might not make the playoffs. And, it's just all our humble opinions. We are all just, trying to give them not necessarily the benefit of the doubt, but giving a logical answer. Like the Seahawks have to play the Ravens. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be a really good game. Yeah. And then the Steelers have to come all the way to LA to play the Rams. That's going to be a good game. Rookie quarterback. And, so there's definitely some games that the Cardinals and Seahawks and, the Rams have a shot at, but I think this is the Niners division this year. And I think we got a good chance to go for it all.
It is. It always is. I checked out some of it because I was at work last night, man, at the 911 center, all types of stuff happening. People get crazy when it's a full moon or a half moon or any other type of moon, particularly soldiers at the great base that is Fort Bragg, North Carolina. It's turning its name to Fort Liberty, North Carolina. We're still trying to wrap our heads around that. But I was checking you guys out, man. You did a real comprehensive job in, looking at others' schedule, because that is key, and that will play into favorability. So we can get some wins out of this thing. And I hope I can add to it a little bit this morning. A glorious morning on Sunday morning. God bless everybody within the sound of my voice. God bless the Culp family. Bryant and Tony, they are Brioni together. They
Oh my
always
gosh. He just
and
made us a super team. A super couple. Oh my god.
y'all are, man. You're inspirational. I got to get, me and my wife together. I'm Hugh and she is D. We call ourselves Hughie. You got to
Well,
be combined. You got to be united.
I'm everywhere as well, and you are. I try to say hi to you when I can. There's times where we're just so involved in conversations or doing stuff in the background, we can't always, bump fists. But I see you, and I seen Eric Crocker and his wife go on live one time, and I was like thinking, man, why can't me and my wife do that? And I know we got little ones and stuff, so we got to make sure they're taken care of and doing stuff. But there's certain times in the day, or the evening, you're like, we can go on for a few minutes. And Eric Crocker did that. And I've seen Ryan G. Hensley, who was just on. He always shouts out his wife. And you should always put your wife up here. You should always put her up there. And those two guys, I mean, shout out to them. They both do exactly what I want to try to do.
Brian, as a preacher, one time, man, my wife was deployed to I don't know if I can say it. She's not here right now, but she was deployed. She does she was security for Joint Special Operations. And I preached them under the benches one time. And man, I had this sermon. I just got it going, man. I was talking about, man, I walked that thing from Matthew 1 all the way to Matthew 26, talking about how Jesus was off of the lineage of all the way, it goes all the way back to royalty, all the way back to Adam. And man, I mean, I hit it all. I was doing it all. And I said, baby, did you see the podcast? She said, you didn't mention me. I said, oh my God. I'm so sorry. I charge it to my head, charge it to my heart. So, guys, this is a little note from Uncle Hugh here, Terradome. Man, please mention your wives, man. Always bring up the wives, man. Don't leave them out of nothing, man. I know current conditions and whatever would have you in terms of, man, you got a wife, it's for life. Please mention your wives, man. It cost me tremendously. I had to go and get seek a little counseling from my apostle, man. He said, hey brother, it happens to us all. Amen, amen. Just get us some flowers and drive that thing on through and learn. Always mention their wives, man.
100%. One of the best things I did was I bought her a rose bush at Home Depot, and she's kept this thing alive. I want to say 2-3 years now, and she gets all excited talking about it. And I know it goes in my ear and it spins around a little bit, and I'm just like, oh, she's talking, she's happy, And then I like walk by the bush one day, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, wow, she's really taking care of it. So I am very proud of her, and I'm like, hey, you can keep a bush alive. You definitely can keep a baby alive. So, hey, let's go around the table real quick. Ryan, thanks for popping in. How's your video doing? Your Debo hype video. I watched it again this morning. I did right before the show. I'm hyped, bro.
Yeah, please go out and watch that. But I was watching, I'm going over and making more videos, but I was watching, I think it was the Panthers game. And I think that's the game that the 49ers decided they didn't want Robbie Gould back. So rewatching it, there was 2 kickoffs there where he wasn't able to get touchbacks. It was brought out, and he was the last guy to make the hit to kind of stop the returner. And by I think it was the 3rd quarter, they tried to make a kick, and Wishnowsky was kicking. So I think the 49ers looked at that going, man, we need somebody who could get the ball into the end zone so we can at least get a touchback, or who can at least, tackle somebody without getting injured. So I think that might have forced their hands because, Robbie Gould came out after the season saying, yeah, let's run it back. And then it was like a couple weeks later, it was like, I'm not going back to San Francisco. And we were like, Robbie, what's your deal, bro? Like you were just saying, I wonder if he got news that the 49ers weren't interested anymore. And that's what caused that statement to be made. So I kind of want to know people's input on that.
Are you leaning into like the Pat McAfee thing with a fair catch kind of thing? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm just talking about the fact that Mitch Wisnowski had to try and kick a field goal and shanked it. And that's like due to the fact that Robbie injured himself trying to tackle a returner because he couldn't kick a touchback. So it's not anything having to do with fair catch rule. It's talking about Robbie Gould's limitations physically, essentially. And that's what I'm guessing. This is my hot take. So I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are.
All right, I want to start it out because I think I have a little bit of knowledge on this one. When he got hurt, Mitch Wisnowski wasn't practicing kicking field goals. And I think if you get to warm up practicing kicking field goals, you get a little bit better of a shot making it. But they say, hey, put your helmet on.
Your punter's there to punt. Your punter's there to punt. Your field goal kicker is there to kick field goals. There's no reason why your punter should be kicking field goals unless they do the same job. Like a Moody. Like a Moody can punt and he can kick. Mitch Wisnowski's not that dude.
That's the point exactly, Ryan. And if you get your kicker hurt and your punter, who most of the time kickers and punters do both, one's just better at one specific job. That's why they lean to go kicker or they lean to go punter. But Mitch Wisnowski can kick and he can punt, and so can Robbie. Andy Lee could do the same thing, but they don't necessarily do that because their specific job is to punt. So like you just were saying, Robbie Gould got hurt. Mitch Wisnowski had to pick up his helmet and come off the bench and go kick a field goal. That's like asking Josh Johnson to start taking snaps. And he's like, oh, I know the playbook, but you didn't practice all week, or you got 2 or 3 throws this whole week. So I can see your point. And, I think it's just after practice, the guy, maybe he could do better. And I think he did do better after that, but they still went and got that kicker. And then even he messed up. And that's why we went back to
what does Mitch Wisnowski getting practice kicking field goals have to do with the fact that Robbie Gould can't kick a touchback? So what's the point of having Robbie Gould on the field at all?
Robbie Gould hasn't always not been able to kick a touchback. And if you go back and you look at the stat, listen,
he can't dependably kick a touchback. He can't.
Robbie Gould hasn't always kicked poorly. He has been able to kick a touchback. If you go back, Mitch Wisnowski and Robbie Gould both had groin injuries the last 2 seasons, and that's why they were having kickoff problems. Mitch Wisnowski was kicking off for a short period of time because Robbie had pulled his groin. I think that's also why they were having problems with Robbie's distance. Robbie's up there in age, so now we're moving off. So I can see your point, but if you make a tackle and you get hurt, and the other guy has to come in and do his job, we just got to have our fingers crossed and hopefully he can do the best. David, what do you think?
I think we just moved off of Robbie Gould because of there's a couple reasons there. The whole he's not reliable from 40 yards out thing, kicking field goals. And the kicking touchbacks, I mean, look at our coverage unit. Our coverage unit was among the bottom of the league, in yards given up. They were literally, we weren't very good. And, not kicking touchbacks does have a lot to do with that, And at the same time, Robbie's getting expensive, and so is our roster. So those are the 3 reasons I think the Niners moved off of Robbie Gould and decided to draft Jake Moody.
What do you think, Jeff? We'll bring it back up to you, Terradome, after Jeff and John.
I agree. I think that Robbie Gould became too expensive, and he wasn't able to afford as much as we could have in the past, and it took a toll on the Niners in general.
What do you think, John?
You don't think that the 49ers would have money for Robbie Gould if he could check all the boxes? at that same price.
I think that they needed money for other players at the time. I also want to say, Brian, that when you said that we're gonna go all the way, literally we're gonna go for the gold.
Yeah. So, with the amount of money that we had before we restructured, because we just restructured CMC, and now we have almost $10 million. But we only had $3 million before we were playing with that, and Robbie Gould's asking for $5 million. So it's kind of hard to sign somebody when you don't have the money for them without restructuring. And now we know we restructured, but Robbie's already made a point to say he doesn't really know what he's doing. He gave his listening for Jake Moody. He was practicing with Jake Moody. He was like, Niners, go after this guy. I don't know what I'm doing. So I think, if he can get $5 million somewhere else, let him go get it somewhere else. I think the Niners are just trying to get a little bit healthier.
His cap hit wouldn't have been a full $5 million. It would have probably been like around 4, just so you know, because it's like it's the top 51, and then anything less is taken out of that. That's why like signing the rookies would have been only less than $1 million, even though you add their contracts up, they're worth more than that. It's just that they're so low on the thing. So
correct.
He would have like probably I think about 700,000 taken out of that $5 million. So it'd probably be like a 4.3. Just to
no, you're totally correct. Totally correct. Because we had $3 million, and then talking with Jason Hurley the other show a couple of weeks back, we would have had about 2-point-something million after signing our rookies, and that still doesn't give us enough, even with Robbie taking a 4.3 million pay cut. You're going to ask the guy to shave $2 more million off. I don't think he's going to do that when he's obviously really either wanting to just win a ring or wanting to retire, and he either doesn't think the Niners are going to get it done, and he wants to retire or just be closer to home. So better luck to you. If we can't sign you because you've outpriced yourself, the Niners have to go cheaper. And by them drafting a kicker who could potentially be here for 4 to 10 years or however long, it's a kicker. We're not going to be paying a bunch of money for him. So what do you think, John?
So Robbie Gould, like when it came to Robbie Gould, like like David McNider, like just knocked it out of the ballpark. He was very reliable, 39 yards and and fewer yards. When he got beyond 40, it was always like, oh my gosh, like is he gonna make it? So I think the Niners were like, okay, like we want to keep him. He's an option that we want, but when it came to his price range, like I don't know what he wanted. So he's still a free agent. Like I don't know why anyone hasn't picked him up yet. And when it came to these like kickoffs, why Robbie Gould wasn't kicking the ball off. If he had like hamstring issues, that's why Wisnowski was kicking the ball. I'm glad we got someone who could kick the ball. We got someone who can do kickoff. I don't hate Mitch Wisnowski. I just want Mitch Wisnowski to punt.
%. You want your long snapper to long snap. You don't want him to be the center. You want your kicker to kick field goals and not play quarterback. You want your punter to punt, not be a running back. So, that's why, the fake punts and all that other crazy stuff doesn't necessarily work because these guys aren't practicing to do that. So, I think that's a good topic. Let's go ahead and transition to Terradome. I don't think we've got to hear what you predicted, or have you even come out with a prediction for the Niners record yet? Season prediction.
15-2.
Boom.
15-2.
You
15-2.
Me and Jess. 15-2.
15-2. Yeah. Yeah. It is nuanced. I know everyone may be looking at the schedule one way based on like last year and that playoff strength, and I've seen the strength of schedules and all of this. But we've got to ask ourselves a couple of separate questions. I wrote them down and I try to remember them because I don't want to run back to my bedroom in there. Last year at this time, when the schedule came out, we realized that the San Francisco 49ers and the entirety of the NFC West was going to be facing probably the juggernaut that is the AFC West. Denver was supposed to be a lot better than they were. Kansas City was going to be who they were, and they had brilliant quarterback play in Los Angeles with the Chargers. It was Justin Herbert. And we looked at the NFC East as kind of a bum division. Again, nuancing this a little bit and looking at a year removed, we looked at the NFC East as, they are okay. And they had a schedule based on the fact that they would play, I think it was the NFC South. Well, a year removed from there, and we catapult to this year, we're going to be playing the NFC East now. And although we got a lot of travel time, the NFC East, it looks like on paper that we're playing this big foe, and 3 of the 4 teams made the playoffs, and Washington could have possibly went to the whole division, could have made the playoffs, but they were feasting on the NFC South, which was kind of a down year for them. Juxtaposed on that, man, we swept our division. We're smoking on that pack that is the Seattle Seahawks, with the Phoenix Cardinals or Arizona Cardinals or whatever they're calling themselves today. I don't care if they're in Tempe, Arizona. We smoked all on that pack. The Los Angeles Rams, SoFi Stadium, they're our Airbnb. We own them. And I'm really not concerned with Seattle because, again, I say they're in escrow. Every definitive moment, we got better beating them. We could have beat them by I think it was 21 points. They had the bogus penalty on Nick Bosa, which negated a wonderful pick 6 by Theodore Lenore, and we could have scored even more points at the end of that game with a brilliant run by Jordan Mason. We beat him by, I think it was 7. It could have been 14 more on top of that. And you saw we dismantled, desecrated, and destroyed them in the playoffs. What I'm trying to say is the San Francisco 49ers are superior in coaching. The San Francisco 49ers are superior at virtually every position on the field. The San Francisco 49ers have no true rivalry in the NFC except for the Philadelphia Eagles. And if it were not for a chance, 1 in a million injury to arguably the greatest rookie quarterback that's ever performed in all of football, we would have beat them daggone Philadelphia Eagles, and a nullified call that the play clock guy should have gotten right. The what's it called? The replay official or somebody that wasn't. Man, we're talking about a shot at another Super Bowl, and Brock Purdy should have been in the Super Bowl.
Hey, here's a question. And for everybody, but maybe we can transition to this. And it's kind of 2 parts. So Brock Purdy was, a rookie, but he didn't legitimately start his whole season, and go to the Super Bowl. If he would have, then that would have been great. I don't know if they would have given that, asterisk next to his name. He didn't start the whole season or whatnot. But what's the difference between him and Big Ben? Because didn't Big Ben start his rookie season and get to the Super Bowl?
Yes, sir. Big Ben started and did really, really well, but his touchdown to interception ratio was smaller than that of Brock Purdy. Big Ben had something around a 2.9 touchdown to interception ratio, while Brock Purdy had a 3.22. They both won 2 playoff games, and Big Ben was supported by the then bus, who was Jerome Bettis, and that was predominantly what they had in terms of offense. Brock Purdy was a playmaker. Brock Purdy increased our production put out from Jimmy G, which it was Jimmy G's best performance since he has been there. We were at 24.5. Brock Purdy increased it to 33.6, if I'm not mistaken. He looks downfield. He gets out of trouble. He slides. He keeps himself aware. He was everything we could ask any quarterback to be. And the only comparable things you could say about Brock Purdy's 6-game regular season and 2 or 3 game postseason, the only thing comparable is Big Ben Roethlisberger or Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert didn't even make the playoffs as a rookie, but he did step in and had a wonderful touchdown to interception ratio, and he did win some games, but not at the precipitous percentage that is Brock Purdy. So you are correct in your translations, but they were number 1 first-round picks, while Brock Purdy was a 7th round pick.
So here's my question for everybody then. And maybe we don't agree, that's fine. So to me, it seems like Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, and he's got a lot of intangibles, but he got hurt. If he would have won the Super Bowl, we could say his value, or if he wasn't hurt, we could say his value would be a little bit higher, right? So at this point, the Niners are the only ones that have any value in him, correct? So could we guesstimate if he would have won the Super Bowl, what his value would be to another team? Would they be willing to give us a first-round pick for Brock Purdy, or because he's Mr. Irrelevant, is his stock always going to be that low?
They would be chomping at the bit. They would be chomping at the bit right now. Once they find out he's healthy, if there is any team worth their salt, they'll be looking for Mr. Brock Purdy. That's just my honest. And I'm a Trey Lance guy. I pull for Trey Lance. I'm crazy about Trey Lance. I want him to be the second coming of Patrick Mahomes. I've been saying put Trey in, take Jimmy out, put Trey in. I'm Trey all the way, but I can't deny the fact of what I seen. That was the best performance we have seen in a San Francisco 49er uniform since probably Jeff Garcia.
All right, I agree. David, what do you think? What do you think Brock Purdy's trade value would be if he would have stayed healthy or won the Super Bowl?
Quarterbacks are very expensive in this league. Even trading for one. If he wins the Super Bowl, I'd be asking at least 2 first-rounders and maybe a late rounder. At least for him, because quarterbacks are a hot commodity. It's a very important position.
Are we talking about
at this point? I would have.
Or his value on the market, essentially, to other teams. That's
that's what we're talking about, because right now Brock Purdy's only value to the 49ers. So if he would have stayed healthy or won the Super Bowl, what would his trade value be this season currently right now? And that's what we're talking. So we're gonna go to David,
and we got Trey Lance though, right? Trey Lance, we got him coming in. He's been working on his mechanics to shorten mid throws, which is what he needs to work on. And from all reports and the little video I've seen, because I don't think there's a lot of it out there, he's looking pretty good, you know?
Mhm.
And so right now, it's kind of like let's keep Brock Purdy on the team. When he comes back, Trey Lance is balling out. Kyle's gonna stick with the hot hand. He's not just gonna insert Brock Purdy back in there. We all know Kyle does that. He sticks with the hot hand.
Mhm.
And and then hopefully we blow some teams out, get Brock Purdy in there, get him some garbage time so he can show that he still got it and his arm's okay. And then this next off season, teams are going to be calling, and it's going to be one of those, we didn't call you, you're calling us. What kind of crazy offer you got? That's the best case scenario.
I agree. What do you think, Jeff? You're muted. You're muted, Jeff. Okay.
Oh, I forgot. Shout out to Squabo Noah, the Seahawks content creator. With that pie in the face happened after we beat him 3 times last year.
So, Jeff, what do you think? What do you think the 49ers value for Brock Purdy would be if he would have stayed healthy or won the Super Bowl currently, right now?
I think that it definitely, the value definitely would have gone up. It's very rare in general that you see a rookie do so good, and so I think his everything about him would have skyrocketed to that degree. He would have been in a very, very high position at that point, because you don't usually see rookies just clobber the other team like there's no tomorrow, and just score touchdown after touchdown in a row, like tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. So you're saying with 8 wins, potentially 8-1, or even going 9-0, winning the Super Bowl, a lot of teams would be jumping at him because he's a rookie and players just don't win like that.
They would, but I would hope that he would still stay a Niner, because he really is a Niner, that guy.
Okay. John,
I can't see him with anybody else,
I agree. I like seeing him as a Niner. John, what do you think of Brock Purdy? If he would have won the Super Bowl, lost the Eagles game, regardless, he's healthy now, what do you think his trade value could be?
All right, so if Brock Purdy, would have stayed healthy, went to the Super Bowl, won it, and hypothetically they wanted to trade him, teams would be like, all right, we'll offer 1st-round picks. Don't know how many, but that's what teams will do, because for those who have watched the NFL as long as I have, I've seen a lot of bad quarterbacks, get paid $50 million for like 6 seasons, or like $70 million for rookie quarterbacks that, never took in the field. So teams would have been very desperate to get Brock Purdy. They would be really desperate. That's just a reality. And plus, also because of his salary, they would go all in. They would just go all in, give all the picks, build around them, and try to win a Super Bowl. That's the hypothetical, if that would happen. But realistically, if Brock Purdy was healthy, didn't have no injury, hypothetically won the Super Bowl, call me crazy. And I like Trey Lance. I think they would have dished out Trey Lance. No disrespect to the kid. Don't hate him. I don't hate him. I like him. But there's Brock Purdy won a Super Bowl. That's the guy. Boom. And they would have just say, all right, that's it. That's basically the hypothetical. And another hypothetical, if Brock Purdy would have won the Super Bowl.
I like that point. Real quick, Ryan, I like that perspective, John. But I almost see it opposite. Like if the Niners win the Super Bowl, I think everybody can kind of take a deep breath and then almost not necessarily like revert back or start tanking or anything, but they're going to have like that chip off their back. They might even be like a new man. So I almost think they'd be like, okay, let's see what Trey Lance can do. We can run it back with Trey Lance. That's the thoughts that I would hope that the team would be like, because we finally got the chip. So now we got nothing invested in this guy, Mr. Irrelevant, and they're willing to give us a first and a third or 2 firsts. Let's take that, because at this point, I don't see us being able to recoup or cover what we paid for Trey Lance. So after that chips one, I really don't care who's the quarterback, and at this point, I just want the Super Bowl. But I agree with your opinion. I definitely can see that. Ryan, thank you for waiting for me. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on the value of Mr. Brock Purdy.
I was just trying to figure out what John thought the value of Brock Purdy was. I don't think I got answered.
Okay, John, would you like to clarify that? Because I kind of thought you had answered it, but go ahead and maybe rework your sentence.
If anyone didn't hear me, my bad. Probably 2 first-round picks.
Okay. So I don't think they're getting 2 first-round picks for Brock Purdy. There's still too small of a sample size, I would say. And there's also things that you can point at and say he needs to work on that. He had at least 1 or 2 passes each game that could have been picked off if somebody was in a little bit better position. And I don't know what's causing him or what's all playing into that in each scenario, but I think there's certain things that need to be worked on. But I definitely think if he had gone through and won the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, I think you could get a first and a third for him. And I think right now you might be able to get a second rounder for him. You know what I mean? The big thing is he just wasn't able to show those last 2 games. If he would have won the last 2 games, that's the biggest notches on that whole path. You know what I mean? And that really shows what the medal that someone has. So I think, if he was to be traded after winning the Super Bowl, it'd probably be a first and a third. And right now he'd probably be worth a second. Yeah. Can't hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, can?
No, we can hear you. We definitely can hear
That's
you.
weird,
Corey.
because I'm supposed to be muted.
Well, on my side, it doesn't show you're muted, so I don't know.
No, I'm using a little mute on my thing.
Okay.
That's why you heard me coughing earlier. I was trusting that.
Yeah, we are like nasty gag, but we recovered. Hairballs happen. So, Corey, it's morning time. We all wake up sometimes. We got to get a good hack out. But Corey, thank you so much for coming. We got a good show going on right now. Good conversation. We were just talking a little bit about Brock Purdy. If he wouldn't have gotten hurt, or if he would have won or lost the Super Bowl, what do you think the Niners trade value for, or what do you think his trade value could occur?
Well, if he won the Super Bowl, he went to the Super Bowl, and we wanted to trade him. I just don't see that, but he probably get a first round and a second round pick for him, and probably a third for him. But I think like a quarter, and his value, too, that he's still a rookie, and a lot of teams can go say, hey, they might even, a desperate team might even offer 2 first rounds. Like John said, if they desperate, they will do it. They be like, man, now it's going to give away a starting quarterback to the Super Bowl. Oh man, let's give him 2 first rounds. They probably ask the Niners, what do you want for him? What do you want? But I just don't see a team making that trade. I think they'll try to trade off Trey Lance before they try to trade off Brock Purdy. Because you got your team at quarterback that's taking you to the Super Bowl. And I just don't want one Super Bowl. I want back to back to back to back Super Bowls. So for me, I wouldn't be trading Brock Purdy. I'll be trading Trey Lance or Sam
You know,
Darnold.
yeah, yeah, I could see that happening. I really could, but at this point, if you trade Trey Lance, what do you think we could get for him? I don't think we're going to be able to trade him and get anything we want for him. It's kind of like going and buying a candy bar for 50 cents and getting a nickel back or 10 cents back, and you'd like, I didn't even take a bite out of the candy bar.
True that.
But,
Hey
but,
Brian,
but
I'm with Davis as well. I wanted clear and understood. I would never, ever trade Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is my guy, but just for the sake of this argument, I'm just saying what I think other teams would offer and what we would possibly accept. But I'm with you, Dave. Hey man, you go ahead and handle it. I wouldn't trade that. No way.
the object is to win multiple Super Bowls. If you trade Brock Purdy and Trey Lance into the bus, now you back in the same situation you was in. You got rid of your Super Bowl quarterback and then went from a bus. I love Trey Lance. Don't get me wrong. But I would not trade if Brock Purdy to the Super Bowl and won. I would not trade him. I don't care if I gave Trey Lance away, but mostly I'll be looking at Sam Darnold to trade. I'll still try to keep Trey Lance. I'll trade Sam Darnold. I'll put him on the trading block.
Okay, so there's a good question. What do you think you could get for Sam Darnold? And we'll start with you, Corey.
Maybe a third and a fourth.
Because he was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
He's just been on some bad teams.
Yeah. But see, right now, he would have been proven himself like Trey Lance. So I'll give him a third, fourth.
All right. Yeah, I don't see him having a lot of trade value right now because he just hasn't, think about it. 2 years ago, we were offering a first-round pick for him. Anybody mad that we didn't get him then? I mean, like,
Brian,
for one
Brian, it's a lot like with that draft value. It's really how you enter the contest. So some of us are going to enter a dance contest, man, and some of us are going to have checks. Some of us are going to have debit cards. Some of us are going to have to scrape money together, get sponsors or whatever. It's just it's just how you enter the NFL. I mean, you got some people that are undrafted free agents. You got some people that are 7th round, 5th round, whatever, what have you, all the way up to 1st round. It's just really a tagging on some stock and the stock price you pay to get into it. It might be Google stock. It might be Enron stock. It could be whatever, Pfizer or whatever. It's in the production that you truly have your value. How much did you pay for this? And it went all the way up. You want to buy low and you want to sell high. That's all this draft, this fixation with the draft is. They miss every year. These guys are not that smart. If they were, Brock Purdy plays on the level of a Justin Herbert and Ben Roethlisberger. That's the only one we can compare it to. That's the only two people we can compare coming in cold as a rookie and winning 2 playoff wins and going 66% with a 107 passer rating in their rookie year. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to look like Josh Jackson. you just assigning value on people by how they're picked. And I get it. That's just how people feel. And we feel like Trey's got to get out there because we traded up to get him, and we traded away these draft choices, and we picked him number 3 overall, and he's got to be the guy. But it don't fall like that. Tom Brady was picked. It was 6 quarterbacks picked before the greatest quarterback ever to play this game. He was 199th, man. And it don't work like that sometimes. Sometimes these guys get in there and just dance at the dance contest. They don't care if they pay with all pennies. They don't care if they pay with 10s, 100s, checks, debit cards, barter, pelts off of skin. We can't get fixated on, he's a first round pick, or he's a second round pick. Jalen Rose was a second round pick. You got to get in there and dance when you get your shot. The great Eminem says you got to lose yourself in the moment. You got to get in there and do what you do. And I don't care what anybody says. You can go back and look at it statistically. You can go back and look at it on film. You can go back and look and check all my resources and all my records. Nobody performed like this kid coming in against top-ranked defense, the number ones, and he beat 3 playoff teams and then went to the playoffs and won 2 playoff games. He just did. If it was Justin Herbert, we'd be saying, well, we knew it all the time. That's what bothers everyone. That's what gets everyone, because they can't say, yeah, I saw it the whole time. He's a first round pick. He's the guy. He was Eli Manning. He was Peyton Manning. We saw this since he was in 12th grade. We saw this when he was in college. He was Deshaun Watson. He was Justin Herbert. No, you can't say that. That's what bothers everyone, and that's why they're so upset. They didn't see it coming, but it happened.
I think that's the good point right there, and I think that's why a lot of people are upset, because Purdy has played quarterback for a long time, like as a little kid, and going through, and maybe he can't make all the big throws and he can't do this or that, but he maybe got an idea of how to get it done. We've heard, players say, hey, he's moving around in the backfield and that got me open downfield. And maybe he doesn't have the biggest arm, but he's got a big enough arm to get it to me. And then there's been a confidence thing too. He's not necessarily like somebody that you can make fun of who's not going to crack back. And, I don't know the guy personally, but that's what we've seen, on tape, right? But then again, you go look at Trey Lance, and he hasn't played quarterback as long. And I think that's where a lot of people clap back and they get upset. And they're like, why are we giving the keys of the Lamborghini to this guy, So, I think if we would have won the Super Bowl, then we could take a deep breath and relax and then light it up. But
I don't want to
excited for this. So,
I don't want to relax.
You don't what?
I want the Patriots. I want to get that 7. I want to get that 8. I want to be able to say to all the other fans, we are the greatest team out there.
Preach.
We are the number 1 team. Nobody can touch us. They can't even walk on the same field that we walk on. So we're the 4th, and we are the best. I can't one touchdown and say relax. No, I want more. I want more, because when I die, hey, if my team was the greatest, and I guess I'm spoiled because I saw us go 5 Super Bowls already. So I'm getting spoiled, and I want more.
Yeah, I agree. You'd want to see him win every year, but again, like, we've been so close for such a long time, right? And we're not getting there. I'm afraid we're going to turn into the Buffalo Bills. So once we do win the Super Bowl, I feel like that monkey's coming off our back, and these guys, like, who are so uptight and tense right now, they're going to actually be able to loosen up and then maybe potentially really start winning. Because right now it's the scheme fit, right? It's all about don't make the mental error. Don't do this, because if you do, we got to stay healthy or we're not winning anything. We were healthy all year last year until the last game. Primarily, we had some injuries. Some people had foots that were switching on and off from them, and some guys came in with a little bit too much cake on their body, right? Well, I think this year, we go all in, and we just got to keep it that way. What are your thoughts, John? You got any thoughts, topic for the panel? We can move off a quarterback if you like. I think it's always a good idea.
Let's see. Well, this has nothing to do with the topic that we're talking about, the quarterback, but I want to bring up something that our good friend Joe Stevens was saying, that he's jealous of what the 49ers have and his Seahawks, don't. And I've spoken to many fan bases in the past year, and they tell me, like, why do you and your 49er faithfuls act like you guys are like royalty in the NFL? Why do we not, why do we take everything for granted? Like, why do we cry and complain about the same thing year after year? And so I wanted to just bring this little thing up about, like, we do have everything, like, we're very fortunate, but I also remind them, like, if in a 14-year in a 14-year period you win 5 Super Bowls, during a very tough NFL era, and then you're almost 30 years, and you haven't won a Super Bowl. Like, you look back at that. You look back at that, and you're like, why haven't we been able to keep that, that legacy going? So a lot of football fans, like, teams like Detroit and Arizona, they wish they had, what we had. So, going back to, like, why we're talking about the quarterback is that we're just that one piece away. We're one piece away to be that team we used to be, and that's why we are, still debating this thing year after year after year. So I wanted to, instead of just talking about the quarterback, I wanted to use that, why we're, we are how we are. So I just wanted to say that instead of just talking about the quarterback again and again and again.
Ryan, what's your thoughts, man? I know you probably want to change subject from quarterback. I want to give everybody a chance to, throw a question out there or talk about something. And I know you had a question about special teams earlier that kind of got a little, everyone, but that's a good question. So let's move on. Let's get a different question, dude.
Chas, I was trying to talk about kickers, and you just, out of all people, I didn't expect it from you, Brian.
Well, kicker can be sometimes a, tossy subject, especially, like when we have reason to say, well, I can tell you, this is the reason he stopped kicking the way he was kicking, because he was hurt. And, I could go and do the digging and pull up the articles and say he was hurt here, but that's just, again, it's just kind of going around in circles. The guy doesn't kick off anymore.
Every year.
Robbie Gould shouldn't be stopping someone from scoring a touchdown. He shouldn't be making those tackles, nor
He should be kicking the ball out the end zone.
Return. Yeah, he kicked the ball out of the end zone, no return. He's on the 25. The game is always a 75-yard game. That doesn't make it fun. And the reason you kick the ball short is because sometimes your special teams coverage can get down there and stop them and get a fumble maybe on the 5 or get them to stop on the 4. And instead of it being a 75-yard field every time, it's a 95 or an 80-yard field.
Did they mess that up twice in one game and not just have them kick it out the end zone the second time? But anyway, let's move on to running back, undrafted free agent running backs. Now, I hear a lot of people talking about Laybourne, right? But his tape doesn't blow my skirt up. There's nothing about him that I seen that really like other than him being able to, run into people and get yards. You know what I mean? Like that, okay. But I like this guy, Ronald Awatt. It seems like he's got, with the film, it seems like he's got a little more acceleration. I don't know if it's top speed, but it seems like he can zip past some things, and it seems kind of like he jumps around. He's got the jump cuts like CMC. And I'm just kind of wondering, has anybody else watched Awatt's tape And can they explain to me why they like Claiborne more than Awatt and what he brings to the table?
You got to kind of slow down a little bit because your mic's popping really hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we can't really hear your question.
Okay. Well,
When
don't
you
worry
talk
about
slower,
it.
when you talk slower, we can hear you. I don't know if you're just too close to the mic, but there's something about Claiborne too. So
Yeah, I was just saying that Claiborne seems to be everybody's favorite. I'm not understanding why, because when I watch the tape, he doesn't really like jump off to me as much as Ronald Awatt does.
okay, Awatt's fast. Has anybody got to?
Well, that's like tape. Tape can be deceiving, and I know that. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's necessarily he is fast or everybody else is slow because he's at a not as prestigious school. You know what I mean? But what I see is it seems like he'd be a lot more deadlier in our scheme because we can get people so wide, get such big holes that to have his speed, his burst, and his jump cut ability, he could probably just be nasty.
What's his 40 time, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know. I don't care about that stuff really, because to me the 40s they don't translate. Talanoa had a slow ass 40, and he comes out and gets clocked as like the second fastest on field speed throughout the season. Like, you know what I mean? I don't.
Well, I'm not going to ever say that 40 time doesn't count. It doesn't count big, and it shouldn't. But what it is, we look at the 40.
I'm just saying it doesn't translate all the time.
Well, this is I'm trying to help your argument here. What it says is, if you look at a guy's 40, and it matches what he did on the field, if he's pulling past people on the field, it's more of a confluence, or it's more of a confirmation that that's his legit speed, regardless of where he's playing, be it Division II, be it Division I, AA, we used to call it, that's FCS or FBS, versus if a guy runs a slow 40, but on the field, this dude is running past everybody. So it doesn't, you can kind of demeasure it a little bit or dampen that 40 because his 40 doesn't match up with how quick he looked on that film. They both matter. The film and the 40 matter. And what scouts do is try to look at if he pops on a 4.249, you go back and you look at the film and it says, does this guy match up? Is he pulling past people? Is he out quicking people? And then if you have that confluence, both of them matching up, he must be a pretty quick guy. But if he ran a great 40, but he didn't run past anybody, he was just a guy. This is a track dude, and he can get straight line speed, and that can be trained up. I can take, I'm a bit of a novice, but I've studied it enough. I can probably take 0.2 of a second off your 40 right now by showing you a couple of things with your start. It's called top end speed, and that 40 can be tricked a little bit. It can be tricked a little bit, not much. I can't take you from 4.9 to 4.4, but if you're in the fringes of 4.6.9, I could get you to a 4.5.8.
So it looks like it says I see a 4.45, I see a 4.56, a 4.66. I see all those times represented.
All right, in the Army, we triangulate and take the average. So he's about a 4.5 guy, which is pretty good speed. Do you have his split in the first 10 yards? It should be somewhere around 1.617. If you have his split, I'll tell you how quick that guy is. The split tells a lot too.
So the 10-yard dash is 1.58. His 20-yard dash
That's
is
a pretty.
2.59.
That's a quick dude. That's a quick dude.
I don't think his top speed's good. I think he's just got burst of acceleration, which is like a really good trait to have in our running
game. That's
game.
Exactly what you.
I'm being able to see the hole and know where the hole's gonna.
And pop it quickly.
Yep.
That split in the sub 1.6s says everything I need to know. You can start and stop really quick versus getting the top end. You'll find some guys who run a 4.4, but they don't go at their first 10 isn't but a 1.68, 1.7, something like that. And that says, straight line with no pads on in your your finest Under Armour, you can get to top end speed and you find yourself accelerating. It's basic. It's explosion, it's drive, which is those first 3 steps, and then you get to what's called the acceleration phase. And when you get to your top end speed, you're pulling earth and you look really, really good. But football doesn't work that way. We don't just ask you to run straight with nobody impeding you. I need to see how you can start and stop really quick. And sub 1.6 is indicative of a quick dude. So you're on.
Sorry, David, real quick. Terradome, you might know this one off the top of your head. How fast was Jerry Rice? What was his 40 time?
Jerry Rice ran.
That's what I was.
He's measured at a 4.640, but we don't know his first 10 split. But on that field, he's running past everybody, and rarely, if at any time, did we see the greatest that ever did it get caught from behind
with no drop off throughout the game. That's the crazy part.
That's the guy I was going to bring up. That's the guy I was going to bring up because Jerry Rice, he wasn't the fastest. He wasn't the biggest.
No.
He was great at running routes, but he would get up to full speed incredibly fast. And that's something we'll never know because they didn't measure that back in the day.
Yeah, he ran in and out of breaks really well. And because of his conditioning, he used to run that hill, which Roger Craig introduced him to that hill, and he could run uphill, which it looked like a ski slope. I got the NFL films with Steve Sable saved on my TiVo. It ain't TiVo no more, it's a DVR, but it was TiVo when I got it. He could run uphill, U.S. Army standards, for 90 to 95% to 100%. A man of 25 years old runs on a flat track, and if you can do it under 14 minutes, you were considered top shape of your life. These are guys who we run 6 miles for breakfast. Jerry Rice used to run uphill on a 2.5 mile track in under 15 minutes. And he would do that every day as the season ended. So he was going to kill you in the fourth quarter, man. You were done. Once you bent down and put your hands on your knees, he knew he had you. And go back and look at his numbers. Fourth quarter, he killed a lot of them. And bless you, Jerry Rice. I've trained soldiers based on the Jerry Rice principle.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, David, on the underwear? 40 time. How do you want to see it? Progressively be recorded moving forward. Should they be like pads? Do you have any ideas on how they could maybe get a better judge or scale range of their 40 and film time?
Well,
I honestly think. I honestly think they should. They should not be doing it in their underwear on rubber. Pretty much, that's what they're running it on in their underwear on rubber and tennis shoes. You know what I mean? They should be doing this on grass in full NFL uniform with cleats on to mimic what happens on the field. That's what I want to see moving forward.
Well said. What about you, Jeff? I'm trying to move it around to everybody so we can all, have a little bit of this pie. What's your thoughts
First of all,
on
I'd like to
underwear?
touch on. I'd like to touch on what Corey said and what Tara Dome said, and that's also the reason why I wrote a rap about Jerry Rice and why they called him World, because he cannot be touched. He's unstoppable. And as far as what Corey said,
Atlas said,
well,
bro.
as far as what Corey said, what's it called? What was I going to say? Oh, as far as what Corey said, I want to point out that the amazing announcer, John Madden, said that the 49ers are a Roman Empire. He's never said that at any other team in the NFL, period. And it shows. They are 100% a sprung moss. They're a suspension-made vehicle. They're unstoppable in every which direction. That's why you have people like Joe Stevens saying things like, what's it called? I wish we had certain players that the Niners have, or the Niners are so amazing, and and jealousy rears its ugly head.
We better protect our
Not
actor
once,
folks.
but a million times over.
Awesome. Corey Davis, what do you think about our conversation here? Then we're gonna give it up to John and we'll go back to No Borders.
One thing I want to say about Jerry Rice, he also, when he runs, he's not a short feet runner. He's a long feet runner. His legs, his legs span. Okay, so he's taking bigger steps than any other runner. Uh, So I love me. I would love to beat that man. Everybody did say, "Oh, he's slow. He can't run fast." But when that ball's up in the air, he has some certain kind of speed to that ball. Certain speed to take off on people, like y'all saying. I love to watch Terry about run. Yes, not a lot of players to hang up with him. He takes the players race up there to the hill, have a run. They be like, "Oh no, hell no."
He broke a lot of them. He broke them.
So,
Two and
Hey
a half
Corey,
uphill. Oof.
I want to ask you, but I'm asking everyone as well. Do you know, Corey, how Jerry Rice started playing football?
how do you start? Heard of it? I can't think of it right now.
I'm gonna say you'll probably remember right after I say it. So everybody knows Jerry Rice's dad was a bricklayer, and he used to go help his dad, and he'd throw the bricks to him, and he'd have to catch it with his hands. But one day Jerry Rice was in high school, and he was cutting school, and the principal seen him and tried to chase him down. Well, he couldn't catch Jerry Rice. Well, the next time he caught up to him, he said, "You better get your butt on the football field," and that's what happened.
Yeah, I remember that now. That was good. I heard that.
Yeah.
True story.
Yep.
True
All
story.
right, John, let's
Crawford, Mississippi, born October 13th, 1962. Today's with her. I am a mama named Eddie B, a daddy named Joe. I am so familiar with the greatest that ever did it. That's what
Yep.
made me fall in love with the San Francisco 49ers. Also, hey, Brian, if you would,
what?
man, we can't go any further, and I don't know if you already did this, but please, everyone, let's observe a moment of silence for another great, the true great, the one the Hall of Famers go to the Hall of Fame, and they pay homage to the passing of the incredible and wonderful Jim Brown. If we could just have 15 seconds of silence for Jim Brown.
All right, starting now.
Amen. Amen. I'm
Amen.
gonna tell you how incredible Jim Brown was. Freshman year,
Pause,
1985.
pause for a second. Tear it down. Pause for a second. Let's finish
Go ahead.
with John Jay, finding out how he feels about the underwear, and how he thinks, we should, and whether 49, and then we'll finish with your question. We'll go around robin about Jim Brown, and we'll get out of here. So, John Jay, thank you for waiting. How do you feel about what we were all saying? The 40 time, Jerry Rice, Hufunga. How can we transition to get the film and the 40 time to kind of seem like it's a little bit more comparable?
All right, so when it comes to the 40-yard dash, here is the definition of why they do it. The origin of the 40-yard dash comes from the average distance of the punt and the timing it takes to reach that distance. Punt average around 40 yards in a distance from the line of scrimmage, and the hang time of the time of the flight of the football is approximately 4.5 seconds. Therefore, if a player can run 40 yards at 4.5 seconds, he will be able to leave the line of scrimmage when the punt, kick, and reaches the point where the ball comes down. So that's the reason why 4.5 is the speed that you want. It has nothing to do with how you catch a football and score a touchdown, how you throw a football and score a touchdown, how you get the ball at a running back and you run, or how you block. That's what it is. It's an outdated system, but they still do it. And when players run it and they get a time above 4.4, their draft stock goes up. I don't know who wrote the rules. I don't know why they do it, but they do it. And a lot of coaches and a lot of GMs get fooled. Okay, let's talk about Jerry Rice. A lot of people. I saw the Football Life of Jerry Rice. Good show. People got to watch it. It's very detailed, perfect. And when you're a kid and you're working with your dad and you're catching bricks, I've held a brick. It's not fun, but catching those bricks, like 1,000 per day, and then the speed that you have, and then you try to catch a football. It's very different. So, some players have it and some players don't. So some players just, they go to the combine, their draft stocks goes up. There's a lot of bust, but you should never, ever take the 40-yard dash and say, this is a player that's going to be a Hall of Famer in 20 years. So we do have to look at the combine very differently. And also, David McNair talks about why they wear underwears. If you've ever watched the Olympics, they wear the same type of tights. It's supposed to make you faster. Makes no sense why the NFL players, because they don't wear that. They wear uniforms. So they got to change the combine, in my opinion.
Well, they kind of actually wear a form of that underneath their pads. You know what I mean? Like, we used to wear compression shorts and whatnot kind of underneath. You also have to put your thigh pads in, that's kind of like compression shorts. You know what I mean? Now they've got the Under Armour shirts. So that's kind of but essentially it's underwear. You know what I mean? Like, it's
less drag. You don't want any drags. You don't want to be out there in a t-shirt, anything that's causing any drag. It's like a maritime thing, anything dealing with drag and water. You want to be lean, mean, a fighting machine, and have no drag, have no frills on your stuff. You want to be.
They should just do it in wrestling singlets. That would be the best thing.
Yeah, leotards.
They're hella comfortable. Most of them, they're hella comfortable.
Feel good against the skin too. Dry wicking. Great scientific. I was going to show you this Brian Culp, freshman year, 1985. There it is. Terradome wearing 32. Shout out to Jim Brown. They told me they were moving me to running back and linebacker. I said, give me that 32. My cousin wore it. I wore it. Jack Tatum used to wear 32. And that is in homage of Jim Brown back in the day, man. Just wanted to show that out.
I appreciate that, man. So break it down. Tell us a good Jim Brown story, if you can, before we get out of here. We'll give everybody a chance before we get done. And I know he was a Cleveland Brown. He's
There
supposed to
are
be the best all time,
man,
right?
there are so many. Jim Brown may have been one of the greatest athletes ever. He's in the Hall of Fame for lacrosse as well. He could drop 30 on you on the basketball court. Jim Brown in 14 game seasons. Jim Brown amassed the rushing title and he averaged 5.2 yards a carry for his 9 years being in the National Football League. He was a champion several times over, won MVP of the league. This is a running back now. Not one, not two, but 3 times, of which 1 year he played with a broken wrist and still amassed, I think it was 1,100 or 1,200 yards in a 14 game season. They didn't break his record until Walter Payton in 1984. And those were 16 game seasons that the great and Walter Payton is great. And Barry Sanders is great, and Eric Dickerson is great, and Emmitt Smith is great. But going to the Hall of Fame, if you go back and look at Barry Sanders going to the Hall of Fame, his father gives the speech to introduce him. And he still says, ladies and gentlemen, introducing the second greatest running back ever to play the game, my son, Barry Sanders, because Mr. Jim Brown is first.
Yes, true that. All right, we'll spin it to David. Do you have any good Jim Brown stories or any final thoughts for the man?
Well, he was a great man, and I mean for many levels. He was an activist and human rights and everything. I mean he was literally he knew he had a big name and he was using it for good. And in my book, he's one of the greatest. He was one of the greatest men on the planet. So I wish I was old enough to actually see him play. That's a thing. I never saw him actually do it. But I used to hear my grandpas actually talk about him being a running back. There were Indianapolis Colts. My grandpa on one side was an Indianapolis Colts fan. So he would talk about how Jim Brown would whoop him, but that's about it.
Baltimore Colts. They were Baltimore Colts.
Yeah, back in the day, they were Baltimore. That's right.
He was something, man. Yeah. He was something.
Corey Davis.
You could just hear your older uncles and just to respect my dad and their ilk gave to him. I know, and before Corey, before you get going, man, this is how I measure true greatness. They say you can't compare eras. Yes, you can. Look at where a player retires or the draft class that he was in. How much distance did you dominate that class that you were in when you retire? That's how you know how great someone is, and you can compare it to era. That's a precipice upon which I really judge who was the greatest. And Jim Brown, at the time he retired in 1966, was so far beyond everybody else when he retired. It just won't even close. It won't even close, man. It's close to what Jerry did.
All right, we got to hand off to Corey now. Corey, do you have any good Jim Brown thoughts, memories, stories, anything you'd like to introduce to the panel?
Yeah, I didn't get to see him play. I just saw highlights of him, and if I'm not mistaken, did he play in some movies?
Oh, big time. Yeah. He was the first one, an African American man in the 60s, laying up and kissing Raquel Welch. Bruh, that's all I can say right now. It's some people that get mad right now when an African American man is kissing a beautiful Caucasian Mexican woman. This dude doing it in 66. It's really nothing to behold, man. This the dude, man. That's the greatest that ever did it. That's him.
All right, back to Corey, because I think you were turning the corner. What else you got for Jim Brown?
Yeah, I love me some Jim Brown. I wish he was 49. But yeah, he is. He's one of the greats to do it. I've been hearing about him all my life from his family. Watching when I'm watching football, watching films, watching um, the uh, uh, people, news media people talk about him. You know, I was like, yeah, he's one of the greats.
Mr. John Jay, I know you're waiting. You got any thoughts about the great Jim Brown?
Yeah, he was considered like the first superstar of professional football. Of course, there were many greats, in the very early eras, but he was considered at the time a mainstream, superstar. He played the flashy position, which was running back. It wasn't quarterback. What he did in that era, where like it was more rougher, it was more tougher. Uh, at one point he was the number one rusher of all time. So like skill wise, he was really really good. But one story that a lot of people don't talk about, um, in the 90s, in California, like we had, a lot of, violence, gang violence. And Jim Brown came to California, sat down with the two sets, and they put a ceasefire. Like when he was there, this guy's a football player, speaking to heads of gang leaders, and he's teaching them something. He says, my sons, calling them my sons, our brothers. We should not be fighting. We have the same history where we come from. He was educating these men who were considered not good, and he was educating them. And I had a good friend who was like a activist, a good community leader when I was a kid, and he taught me a lot of good stories. He also worked in a church. Good man, rest in peace. And he said, we are all brothers and sisters of this human world, and that's why I respect him, and I call each other us human brothers and sisters.
Amen.
We should not be hurting one another. We shouldn't be fighting with one another. And Jim Brown, a football player, got two groups that did not like each other, sat them down, spoke the truth. And I think that's a story that most people need to hear. I know a lot of people are afraid to talk about this, but you saw what this man commanded everywhere he went, not just as a football player, a movie star, but what he did. Most people would not do that. And he had the guts and courage, and he did it. That's who Jim Brown is, a man of character.
Yes. Amen. Amen, John Jay. He had Bloods and Crips sitting down together in the, I think it was the 80s or the 90s, man. And you couldn't get the police, you couldn't get politicians, you couldn't get Nelson Mandela to do this. Jim Brown had him at his house. Leaders of the Bloods and the Crips, the Pyrus, and man, hey, any of y'all in Los Angeles, California, y'all know the deal. I'll just say it like that. You know how you'd be better pressed to get the Palestinians and the Israelis sitting down together. And that crack was running rampant back in my day, man. It was unheard of. Jim Brown got him to sit down and get together.
All right, Pterodon, what do you prefer, a reverse or a flea flicker? Is going to Ryan.
Let's go ahead with the flea flicker. Let's put it in the air.
Okay, so when I think about Jim Brown, it kind of reminds me of like Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. Like my favorite running back is Barry Sanders, right? But I don't think he's the greatest. I think Jim Brown's the greatest, and it's not necessarily anything he did on the field. He is a person, just a man, changed so many people's lives, just like Muhammad Ali did. So no matter if they're the best ever clinically on every little thing, it doesn't matter. They're the greatest, and they will always be. And like I think somebody like Mike Tyson could totally be down with that. You could be Mike Tyson's the best, but Muhammad Ali's the greatest, and I don't think Mike would argue because he believed so much in Muhammad Ali that what I mean, that he was trying to beat the guy who beat him up years later. You know what I'm saying? Got emotional over that. So Jim Brown was just the epitome of how to be a good human being, and it was really sad when he passed away.
Amen.
So my thing about Jim Brown is he was really a good player. You've always heard about it. Then you heard about, Gale Sayers, and, you've heard about other players and stuff like that, Brian Piccolo and, Brian Song, and all that, so that was something really cool to see in high school growing up. And that's where I kind of got introduced to Jim Brown, and then going back and watching old film and stuff like that, highlights and stuff. I don't know if anyone knows this or not, and I'm not sure because I'd have to look it up. But Jim Otto was the Cleveland Browns quarterback. Was he Jim Brown's quarterback?
Yes.
Okay, because I know Jim Otto. He took their team to like 8 championships or something like that. Crazy. 10 championships. I think they had lost 2, but I know Jim Brown was I believe he was a part of that. So
sir.
Sometimes you walk out of the game, and you leave at a high note, and would have, but at a certain point you can still walk. And this guy went to play in Hollywood and act, and he did so much more for things. So like my dad, he told me, like growing up, you might want to make sure like the type of job that you have later on, you might be able to pick up your grandkids, or even before then, you might want to make sure that you can play with your kids. So, my dad, he was a construction worker. He'd get home after dark. So I didn't get to throw the ball a whole lot with him, but I had a brother. So, sometimes you have your blessings in different areas, but shout out to, the people that can walk away healthy, and, even to the ones who don't, and they end up getting injured, or they need some help, everybody's always appreciated. And again, Jim Brown, I don't ever remember hearing him say anything bad about people, even when they beat his records or anything. It's just that's because it's just a totally different thing. Like you played here, he played here, and now look how long it's taken them to get to where you're at. And shout out to Jim Brown. Thank you, Terradome, for bringing that up. Let's go real quick, everybody, around the circle. We're going to start with No Border Sports. He's the real one. He's the one who holds it down. He's a funny one on the panel. If you know, you know. And appreciate everyone coming. But Ryan, let us know what you're doing. Then we're going to go to John, Corey. We'll go up to Terradome and David, and we're going to get out of here. Lily, she keeps popping in and saying, Dad, when are we going to go play some basketball? So I think that's what I'm heading to do.
Amen.
Yeah, you know me. Hit the channel up. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell notification button. Always got something going down. Got NWO tomorrow. Niners and Friends on Tuesday. Have some content. Friday night show. You'll see half this crew, or essentially everyone here, in there on Friday night. So please stop by.
Awesome. Mr. John J., what do you have going on for the rest of the day?
So today I'm going to be on the great Corey Davis stream.
All right.
I want to know who got 15-0 because he said that. So I'm going to be on that show tomorrow. I'm going to start my my regular daily content every day or whenever I have time at 6:30. Call-in shows or any major stories, because I started going back to work, got full-time job, so don't have time to do any daytime shows anymore. So that's my new schedule. Things like that. So just a little channel update. Basically, I would do a lot of 6:30 p.m. Pacific time shows. And if there's any great stories to talk about, I'll let you guys know. So that's what's going on my channel. But thanks very much for having me on, Brian.
Yeah, awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. You have a lot of good knowledge today, and opinions and analysts. And again, we're all just fans and content, friends, creators. We're not reporters. We're just guys having fun. But Yeah, thank you for coming on. What do you think your shows are going to be like? A half an hour show, an hour show? If you're going on at 6:30, how long do you think you'll be going?
Yeah, so I know Corey does Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. So, and then also he does 8 o'clock shows. So, uh, I might start a much earlier on those days, but usually around the 6:30 mark, probably for about an hour.
Cool. Cool. So everybody make sure you check out the Ultimate 49ers Report, John Jay. And he's always got something going on his channel. Good stuff there. Corey, Mr. Lockdown Davis, thank you very much for coming. What do you got going on? I think you got something going on tonight, right?
Yes, there you go. The 49 Trivia Show. So tune in and see who went 15-0. And also, I'm going to try to do kind of introduction on bringing some people in. I'm going to try. I might fail. I'm going to try.
Well, you know what they say, if you don't try, then you're failing. So if you're trying, you can't fail. There's, you either do or you do not, right? So
You know what the difference between a master and a pupil is? The masters failed more times than the pupils attempted.
So yeah, no more sports.
That's good.
I celebrate your Evo video, 74 Facebook groups in some in a Facebook Messenger.
Oh, thank you, sir. I much appreciate it.
Oh yeah, that was
That's
a good
awesome.
video.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, if you haven't seen Ryan's video, I know he's being non-discreet about it, but he really put in a lot of work. It's really cool. It's 5 minutes of fun, and just sit there or get up, maybe do some exercise, because I that's what I did actually the last 2 times. I got the weights out, started lifting them, and you got the background beat. You got Debo scoring touchdowns. I got my little girl yelling touchdown. So we got hyped, and it definitely is a cool video. So Pterodon, let's pass it to you. All right, and what do you got going on for the week tonight? How's it looking on your end?
Today I have a night off, and I am just going to celebrate with my wonderful wife. We might Netflix and chill. We might chill Netflix. I might cook her a steak, and we'll just dance the night away ourselves in our own intimate way. I'll be on this week, probably on Eric Crocker's show. Probably do a little Wayne Breezy. If Brian will have me, I'll be down with him. You can hear me. I'll dial in the Rombo. I like to hit everybody's show. And when I launch mine officially, I want everybody from David McNiner to Lockdown Davis. I want Brian Cope. I want everybody to remember me. I came on yours. Y'all come on mine, and let's chop it up. Let's have a wonderful time. We're all, regardless of who you're backing, Trey Lance, Lancelot, Link, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Jimmy G. Anyway, 49ers are welcome. We are the faithful. We are the greatest that ever did it. We're the greatest content creators that ever did it. Shout out to everybody within the sound of my voice. And Rams, y'all suck like Hoover vacuum.
Love it.
Kirby's.
Yeah.
Like Kirby's. They're expensive down there in LA.
Like Kirby's? Yeah, I'll upgrade y'all to Kirby's.
Yeah.
They can suck the bed bugs out of a sheet.
At least Kirby you can rebuild, so I think that's a good analogy. You got the Rams, they're in rebuilding, so I love it. David, thank you, man, for coming on. And real quick, Pterodome, all you have to do is send out the bat signal. I'll be there for you, any day. So, and you're always welcome. David McNiner, what do you got going on today? And what else do you got going on?
Well, so today I'll be on Corey Davis's trivia show to see who went 15-0.
It was you.
And then we got like right after this, I'm gonna go do all my yard work and get all that stuff done. But tomorrow night we got a great guest on the Bryant Culp channel, Jay in the Bay. He's gonna be coming on with us to chop it up. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And I'll probably be on the 49ers round check with CG for a little bit before I go on with Bryant. Just depends on how the schedule works out. You know, I might be able to do that whole show. I just got to look at how the times all fall in, for me. And then, Wednesday we got Corey Davis going live with the Giants trivia. Might hop on after he's done and chop it up a little bit. And we got the 49ers trivia show on Corey Davis Thursday night. And definitely looking forward to that. Friday night, we got the No Border Sports call-in show / hangout NFL variety show is what I'm going to call that. Because we do have a couple guys from a couple different fan bases coming in. And then, of course, coffee talk on Saturday and Sunday with Brian Culp. Never miss that. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, tomorrow we're having Jay in the Bay. What's good? I hope I did him justice. The show is a little bit later in the time than normal. We try to go at 5:15. David McNiner is my co-host on Mondays for that show. Not necessarily in particular only for that show, but for that show, Mondays, we bring in our guest. Great people like Jess from 49er East Coast Red and Gold, Terra Dome. We are bringing on Jay in the Bay. He'll actually be, Tony was on our show last week. We had a guest, Johnny Chisari. He couldn't make it. So we pulled Tony from out of the audience and she was able to make it. So sometimes we might have somebody random. We will be getting to the panel, bringing them on as well. But me and David, we're just getting out there, seeing who can come on. We reached out to somebody like Bebop. We're asking, fingers crossed, praying. We'll get him on one day. Maybe we'll get Steve-O here soon. But we're going around the faithful, and it's not just going to be the faithful. Maybe we can get Joe Stevens on or Darwin, other fans, with different perspectives and different opinions. So again, thank you guys all for coming tonight. Check us out on Corey Davis's show. He's going to be revealing the results. Somebody went undefeated, and I know it wasn't me. So congratulations to whoever did it. But with that, thank you guys for coming. Please check out everybody in the panel. Later, I'm going to have all the descriptions and links for everybody. So please go back and check that out. Right now, it's just got me and David and Ryan Hensley. Big thank you and shout out to Ryan Hensley, for coming on. Please go check his show out. If you're not subscribed, please check him out. Follow him on Twitter. He's got a lot of good, opinions and content that goes out there as well. And we're just building the community. So thank you guys all for coming. And with that, guys, let me drop my last dad joke and we're going to finish the day. All right. So a couple of jokes earlier today was, I knew Ryan was coming on. So we had some real estate questions. And the first one was like, I hate going to MC Hammer's house. You guys know he used to live in, I believe it was Tracy in Stockton and California. So that was kind of really cool because it's like really close to my house. But when I go over to his house, I hate going to MC Hammer's house. He won't let me touch anything.
There it is.
I wanted to say that one over because I kind of messed it up early, but all right. And then we had a couple other jokes, and you guys can go back and check those ones out. But the last dad joke of the day. All right, coming in hot. Why is it so cheap to throw a party at a haunted house? Because the ghosts bring all the booze.
Oh.
That's clever.
And with that, everybody, thank you again for coming. Please check out everybody later on. We're going to have a good show with Corey tonight. And if you like all of us here, please like, subscribe, follow us, through social media. And we're not going to be dead. We got 40 days coming. And the NFL, there's always something to talk about. So please follow us and come back, and we'll see you guys here real soon. I'm going to say it. MICKEYMOUSE. Now it's time to say goodbye to our company. And we're out, guys.